I'm going to be talking to you about pioneering DAO adoption in Japan. So just by way of quick introduction, my name is Nikhil Joshi. I'm the COO of Emurgo. Emurgo is one of the co-founding entities of Cardano blockchain. We do a number of things which we loosely classify as facilitating commercial adoption of the Cardano blockchain. And we do that through a few ways. We've got fintech infrastructure and assurance. We provide education predominantly on the technology, but increasingly looking at the non-technology aspects of the blockchain ecosystem. We have a number of partnerships that we are working on. A lot of these we're going to announce in much more grandeur and with a lot more razzmatazz as we get to the Cardano Summit. So do watch this space. We make investments in certain places, and this is more on a strategic basis rather than anything else. And lastly, which really helps underpin the core of this presentation, is that we are headquartered in Singapore, and our focus very much really is on Africa and Asia. That's not to say that we are not interested in this side of the world. We very much are. It's just that we need to focus ourselves over the next couple of years. And it is Asia where we have a significant physical presence that we wish to focus. So just to represent that in a slightly different way, we have a lot of tech infrastructure and tech development that we can facilitate. We have education that we can support folks in the Cardano ecosystem with. We look for collaboration across the board. Right, bearing in mind our mandate here is around commercial adoption. Commercial collaboration is really our leitmotif, and we can help with investment. Just to put that geographical footprint again up on here for you, just to give more context. South Asia, Southeast Asia, Far East Asia, that's very much our playing ground, as well as Africa. We have physical presence in Nairobi and in Joburg, just to be clear. Okay, so this is quite dry subject matter, so I've tried to make it a little more interesting by introducing some puns. So I apologize in advance if these are horribly painful, but in the spirit of trying to bring some entertainment into this otherwise rather dry, legally centered presentation, how do you DAO? So I think I'm going to guess for the audience here, many people are already familiar with what a DAO is, but just so we're baselining and on the same page. A decentralized autonomous organization is what a DAO is. A type of new organization is digital by nature and is somewhat self-running. Obviously leverages blockchain technology to coordinate and enables an organization to self-run to some extent. The intention, of course, is that it is global in its scale. If you remove human elements, human components, it does mean that you work in a digital realm, which of course is global, or can be global by definition, pretty easily. The main thing here is there's no central authority, right? So decentralized, the D in DAO is very important. And that allows you to choose how to allocate resources, distribute revenue, hire new personnel. Basically anything that a traditional organization does today, you could theoretically do in a decentralized, automated way going forward. So what do you need to be able to have a DAO? Well, first and foremost, we need a blockchain, and that's why we're here and why we're talking about it. You need a wallet because there's going to be tokens moving around, so you need to store them somewhere. Essentially, because it's decentralized, you need a method for people to be able to vote on decisions that determine the activity of that DAO. So there's going to need to be a membership token, there's going to need to be voting tokens, and some kind of voting platform to facilitate all of that happening. Typically, you'd have other incentive tokens. Now, you may also want to have a treasury function as part of that DAO. Interestingly, what if you had a DAO to manage your treasury? I flipped the question. Very interesting. So in numerous ways that we could think about how a DAO operates. The easiest way to think about it is it just is a digital form of a company, but I think it gets a lot more nuanced and sophisticated than that. Anyone who grew up in the 1980s will know what this is. Fear does not exist in this dojo. These are getting better, I assure you not. Okay, so conceptually, sure, let's just put everything into a digital format and call it a DAO, make sure everyone's voting, and off you go. Is it as simple as that? Not really, because legal entities today have to operate under some sort of legal framework, be they in one jurisdiction, and particularly if they're across several jurisdictions. While we're familiar with the concept of a DAO, most countries haven't yet understood how they want to proceed with putting a legal framework around this. And this is where Japan has moved forward way quicker than other countries. So what's it actually trying to do? So first of all, the existing financial laws have been adapted to allow limited liability companies to raise capital without limit using an NFT format. The second thing is there's a formation of a DAO association to promote awareness, development, and implementation of DAOs nationwide. So this is quite interesting. So on a legal front, Japan is saying, we're going to recognize DAOs in some way. This is going to be a stepped process, so we shouldn't expect everything to happen on day one, but it's good progress nevertheless. But aside from
enjoying the event? Fire up that wallet and delegate your ADA to Rare Stake Pool. For over 3 years, Rare has been committed to providing high-quality staking services. And we're now Chang Hard Fork ready. Thank you for your support.
From a legal framework, you do need something at a governmental level that is going to help promote awareness. And this is where the DAO association fits in. So past those two underpinning important baselines, what happens next? Well, so the limited liability companies can raise capital through a token, which can be traded. There's more flexibility around the funding opportunities. The LLCs can actually conduct on-chain voting, decision-making, record-keeping. You can issue all sorts of incentive tokens. The membership tokens are less restrictive compared to traditional cryptocurrencies, and potential DAO projects can seek to set up an LLC or a DAO in Japan. This is interesting, right? So if you're running your project now, you want to create some kind of DAO, you may want to think about whether Japan offers an opportunity for you here, simply because the government is being much more front-footed in establishing a framework around this. It's not necessarily everything you would want a DAO to do today, and that has to be understood. I think it's well understood, but these are good, positive stepping stones in moving in the right direction. I would highlight the penultimate point on this slide, which is that the tokens are subject to less restrictive requirements than normal traditional cryptocurrencies. And this is important because normally that kind of AML, KYC, onboarding, those types of things, if you're going to list on an exchange, some of them are there, but not all of them, right? So this allows for ease of setting yourselves up, ease of distribution, and the fact that these tokens can be traded allows for a greater liquidity, which is very important. Cool. So what existed before? What is the case now? So the legal wrapper, and this is essentially the crux of the framework. There was nothing. There was nothing in place before, and this is the case in most countries outside Japan. Now we know that there is a limited liability company which can operate in the form of a DAO. We know that blockchain tools are allowed or indeed expected to facilitate on-chain operations. Voting right, we have token holders. So the token holders are legally respected under that framework. That's very important. Liability was unlimited before, partly because there was ambiguity around how the framework, or in the absence of a framework. Now we know it's limited. So this is putting it sort of back into a traditional format, and this is why it's anchored in the limited liability company set of organizations. Investment. Beforehand, there were no rules. Now there are some rules. So rules help because you know the direction of travel. You know where you can play, where you can't play. You may not necessarily agree with the rules right now, but again, these are steps inching forward to get us to a better place. And lastly, dividends. No rules in principle. Again, now there is something in place that allows you to determine the distribution of profits and otherwise coming out of that DAO. Terrible, terrible pun. Why should DAO care? Okay, well, what are the problems with an existing organization? These probably don't change once you're in a DAO format, right? There's ones that are definitely unique to having a DAO. Smart contract risk, right? Because we're on a blockchain, so that implicitly has to be a risk that we have to think about. Regulation. So great that Japan's moving forward on this basis, but we know that across the globe, it's an unlevel playing field. Different regulators have different appetite, different awareness, different incentive to move in different directions at different speeds. So it's all a little bit hairy, shall we say. Jurisdictional issues. So these may not be regulatory in nature, but nevertheless, by virtue of the fact that we're now in a digital realm, you are going across different jurisdictions. So what other legal things do you need to think about? Tax, everyone's favorite killjoy. Tax, whatever token you have, cryptocurrency or indeed a voting token on a DAO, how will different jurisdictions apply a tax framework to all of this? We don't know the answers to these yet, but I'm just flagging the other considerations that are out there. Liability is an important one. If you are an equity holder in a traditional company, what are your rights and obligations as an equity holder? If you hold senior credit, what are your rights and obligations as that senior credit holder? If you now are a member of a DAO and hold a membership token or indeed a voting token, what are your rights and obligations? If I expect that DAO to do something for me and it doesn't happen, who can I go after? That's not clear right now, right? So these are all very, very intellectually curious questions that I think we're still going to see play out over time. And of course, securities law, we just know, I don't need to tell you guys in the US, securities and cryptocurrency sometimes feel like they ought to be mutually exclusive, but quite often aren't. And the last one, I left this for last deliberately, humans. So we kind of think, or tend to think that, all right, this is a decentralized autonomous organization. It's all built on blockchain. The human component doesn't really matter. But actually, maybe it matters even more so than in a traditional format, because you have a number of disparate people with disparate motives, fragmented both geographically and otherwise. And this should not, I think, not be underestimated. So we will see how the Japan framework evolves to start factoring in some of these considerations. And by the way, I wouldn't profess to say that this is an exhaustive list of considerations. I think these are just some of the key ones that come to mind. So point being here, watch this space. Let's see how the Japan framework evolves. So the benefits of having the Japan framework in place, bearing in mind that not all of those considerations have yet been addressed. The benefits are quite narrow at the moment, but again, this is very much, the presentation is very much in the spirit of giving you a heads up that there is movement happening, that it is positive to the extent that it has moved forward, and there is more to be done. And if anyone wants to get involved in this, then you can reach out to us at Emurgo, or indeed, Patrick from NMaker, Logan from Clarity are going to be on stage later, going into a bit more detail on this. They're involved, and you, by all means, I'm sure they'd be happy for you guys to get involved in there. But I think certainly the advocacy part around the with the Japanese regulation in this part would definitely benefit from more people giving their inputs on what matters, what doesn't matter, what does it mean if you're not based in Japan, and so forth. So just be aware of that. Feel free to reach out. But I just wanted to highlight here for the initial steps that have been taken in Japan. These are the benefits that come, right? So flexible fundraising, you have the ability to make on-chain decisions, digital incentive tokens exist, and the ease of process. They are looking at 2 specific use cases, and really more in the spirit of just, if you like, anchoring thoughts in two specific areas. But that's not to suggest that it won't expand past this. So if your activity is if your business is in some way related to asset management or property business, this may be a thing where you have more interest in getting involved with this sooner rather than later. And again, quid pro quo. There may be something that you get out of this. There may be something that the Japanese lawmakers get out of this, which helps shape their thinking. How is Cardano involved? So the Japanese DAO Association has accredited 2 dApps and Emurgo's wallet, Yoroi, as official tools for forming a DAO, which is pretty cool, right? So Yoroi, in case you didn't know, Emurgo operates Yoroi. That's the wallet. NMaker, I'm sure everyone knows here, for issuance of NFTs. And Clarity for your DAO toolkit, basically. So the three are working on this together. We'd very much welcome other folks who want to join in this process. Again, in the spirit of partly advocacy with Japanese regulators and lawmakers, partly in the interest of you can shape thinking and it comes out in a better space and a better endpoint for those of you on this side of the world. I'll just repeat one more time. So at 3 o'clock, NMaker and Clarity will be up on stage talking about tokenization and DAOs. They've been very close to this process so far, and I think they're going to be getting into a lot more detail in that session. So please do come back and have a listen to what they have to say. All right, there's a QR code that takes you to Emurgo's website. So if you want to talk to us about either the Japan DAO framework or anything else that we've got in our pipe, please do get in touch. I'm just going to plug this other session. I've got 2 friends and colleagues here, Vineet and Shantanu, who have got a workshop tomorrow. Raise your hands, guys. So they'll be doing a session on USDA, which is a stable coin that we're launching through Shantanu's business, Encryptus, shortly. So please do make your way to their workshop, which is tomorrow afternoon. Well, look, thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening. I was trying to make it as well, not as dry as it probably was. I was going to end with one more pun, which was to take the Police song and sing do 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 a dow dow dow, but I thought that'd be one too many, so I didn't. But I guess I have now. Any questions? Our booth is in the top left corner as I'm looking at it. By all means, come and have a chat with us, and I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Rare Evo 2025 tickets are on sale now. Save big. General admission passes are discounted to $250, and VIP passes are only $800. Join us August 7th through 9th, 2025 at Caesars Palace, Las Vegas. Hurry, only 30 days left to save. Visit rareevo.io and buy your tickets now.